East Kentwood High School. The school had a graduation ceremony happening in the stadium, and as people were exiting the stadium, it appears that two white sedans were involved in a gun exchange between each other, and two individuals were struck by bullets in this exchange. One of them is a 16-year-old male from Texas, and the other is a 40-year-old female from Grand Rapids. Both of them are in stable condition. The 16-year-old received a wrist wound. The female received an abdomen wound and a wrist wound, so 2 shots. They're both being treated at local hospitals. Beyond that, the suspects left the area at a high rate of speed, exited the area. We are looking for them right now. We're also looking for any leads that anybody might have about their identification. Say that the Kentwood Public School is working very closely with us to help us establish what happened this evening and run down any leads and get this brought to resolution. This is a difficult thing for a school district to go through, a community to go through. So we're working very hard to make sure that we're bringing it to closure as soon as possible and ensuring that this community remains as safe as possible. But we do have 2 outstanding suspects at this point.
Shooting following a graduation, what goes through your mind when you first got that call?
You're nervous for the safety of the community and the people who happen to be on the scene of the graduation. So stabilizing that scene and making sure that we get it as safe as possible as soon as possible, and then bring that incident to closure by investigating it very thoroughly and making sure we know what happened and hopefully why.
Is there a motive here yet?
We don't have any of that information yet.
What is the connection between the 2 people who were injured?
We have no known connection between those 2 individuals or those 2 individuals to any of the possible suspects. So it's possible they just happen to be bystanders in the event.
Sheriff, we had been told that witnesses have told us that 10 shots were fired. Is that true?
I don't have an exact number of shots. I would say multiple shots, a large number of shots were fired at the scene, but I don't have an exact number. That's one of the things that we're still very painstakingly trying to figure out. What types of weapons were involved, how many weapons were involved. We have eyewitness accounts, but obviously it's important to know for sure.
So go ahead.
I know you said the victims are being treated at a local hospital, Metro, Spectrum.
I can't answer that question. I'm sorry.
Sheriff, a student had also said that the victim was a mother of a student. Are you able to confirm that?
I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Suspects still on the loose. Is it 2 suspects?
We have multiple suspects that got into the vehicle. We don't know their connection to the actual shooting. We know we had at least 2 shooters.
Is this community safe tonight?
I want the community to be alert to these potential suspects tonight. We have no reason to believe they're coming back into the area or that they have a specific target back in this area. This scene is secure now, but of course, until we bring this case to resolution, I can't be certain on what their intent is.
But just to be clear, there is no public threat at this point.
We do not believe there's an ongoing public threat at this moment.
What do you say to families and students and people who are a part of this community?
I mean, a celebration like this is something that brings family together, makes us feel close as a community with pride of our young people and what they're accomplishing. This is very difficult to have happen in this community at this moment of celebration. So I say that we're working to bring it to resolution. I also say communities keep communities safe. So we need to make sure we all work together to bring it to resolution, to get all the information we can about this case, and so that we can do it quickly and thoroughly and effectively.
Sheriff, this community has had a rash of violence recently. We had 2 homicides last weekend, 3 homicides this month, and a number of shootings. For a community struggling with this surge in violence recently, what would your message be?
I'm certainly concerned about the surge in violence, and again, I'll go back to communities keep communities safe. We have to work together to bring these cases to resolution. We have to know that it's up to each person in this community to keep each other safe.
We had also heard that law enforcement officials were on scene at that graduation. Were they deputies with County Sheriff's Office?
I don't have that information.
Just to double check, so 2 suspects, are do you have age ranges? Were any other
I
descriptive
have
information?
We are literally reviewing the video right now, tips that we are starting to get into Silent Observer, so I don't have any of that information, and the images that I see, it's not clear who the identification is, so I really can't. Be a little while before we get anything more extensive, so we will keep you posted. We'll send out information to you when we will update, but I don't have any more information forthcoming in the immediate unless there's a change in the circumstance.
Were these people who were shot, were they here for the graduation?
We are still trying to get good interviews with those individuals because obviously they were in need of medical care. So they were evacuated to the hospitals. We have officers there talking to family, and at one point will be the victims themselves, but I don't have that information right now.
Was there any intel that this could have happened beforehand?
I have no knowledge of any intel ahead of time.
Are witnesses and suspects, or not suspects, victims cooperating with you guys at this point?
We've had a very cooperative group of people that we've worked with so far, and I expect that to continue. We're really working together as a team to get this case resolved.
When I was speaking with the 18-year-old student earlier, I mean, she had heard from her sister who was there at the time of the graduation. And what would your message be to members of this community and, the school that, we're running, we've heard of some videos online of people running and screaming. What would your message be to people struggling with what's happened tonight?
This is a very traumatic thing to go through, and I would say be empathetic to other members in the community and understand that going through something like this is something that will be difficult for them to shed, talk through it, work with. If you feel the need for a mental health professional, there are mental health professionals to work with, and I think we need to keep in mind that when we have an event like this happen, our whole community suffers. It's not just the individual who happened to be on that spot at that time who witnessed it. It's everybody who hears about it, everybody who then believes their community is less safe tonight than it was last night. So that's why it's an entire community's need to step forward, work together, and make sure this case and all of these cases, get brought to resolution.
Now, when it comes to the investigation at the school grounds, are you guys going to be here all night until tomorrow morning?
I can't answer exactly how long it'll take, but it'll take as long as it does. And we'll be here collecting evidence until there's no more evidence to be collected.
Are you still questioning people there?
We're working to collect scene evidence. There are a number of people. I can't tell you what the state of that investigation is right now.
Have you heard whether this will impact school tomorrow?
I think that's something they're considering. I can't answer that question right now. That would be a more appropriate question for the school district, and I think they've already made a statement. I'm certain that they'll probably release something subsequent to this.
Just to clarify, all the shots came from one vehicle. Is that what you're understanding?
That's not actually, I don't know that for sure. I believe they're subjects from multiple directions shooting at each other.
Sheriff, last question. I mean, do you know if this was captured on video at this time?
So there are portions of it that we can see from the school video, but how detailed it is and how exact it is, I can't answer those questions. That's part of what we're reviewing right now.
Do you know if they left this way or that way?
I can't answer those questions. I
I
don't know those answers.
So were the victims, just to get it straight in my mind, were they in one of those sedans or not?
No.
They were they outside or were they in a vehicle?
No, they were in the parking lot area.
So
Okay.
they appear just to be innocent victims.
My suspicion is that they are just completely bystanders that happen to be here at the time of this gun exchange.
I think last question for me, obviously it is graduation season, people are out there, are celebrating. Should districts be doing anything, especially given the uptick of gun violence in Kent County?
I think that is a individual school district question. I think that's something certainly they evaluate every year depending on, and there's something that are like very basic like traffic related issues or congestion or things like that that they often will consider when they're deciding to get officers there on standby for their graduation. Whether this will factor into it, I think is an independent community question.
Sheriff, does it appear that the cars were on the road or somewhere on the school property?
I can answer that question.
And one more question for me. I had spoken with Chief Lindstrom earlier, and he said, there have been more drive-by shooting incidents recently. They've seen young people stealing cars and then taking them out and taking part in drive-by shootings. I mean, have you seen more drive-by shootings recently with the Kent County Sheriff's Office? Because it seems that, this was another type of incident.
So that area law enforcement works very close together, and our jurisdictions butt up to each other, so there certainly has been an uptick as you look at the greater Kent County area. Specific to the Kent County Sheriff's Office, we have not had cases of drive-by shootings in our jurisdiction, but we have worked with agencies who are seeing them, and as a Kent County community and even a greater metropolitan area, there have been a number of incidents that have happened, and it is significant, and it is something that as a community we need to be aware of, we need to work together, resolve, and we need to get these cases resolved.
If any of the districts reach out to you for security, would you provide it?
We generally do if it's within our jurisdiction, and certainly other law enforcement agencies do if it's within their jurisdiction and it's within our means. We have obviously X number of officers to provide safety and security for the entire community.
Thank you.
Do you know if the victims were mother and child? Or
No,
don't
they're
know?
not.
Okay.
They're not related to each other.
Oh, they're not. Okay.
No.
All right. But
No.
they were attending the event, or
That's what
Okay.
we're trying to work on right
Gotcha.
now. This is really early in the investigation for us, so
Okay,
we're
good.
trying to make sure we talk to you and let you know as soon as possible. But there is a lot more that we don't know yet, that I can't confirm yet.
And again, they're going to be okay because we've read comments of someone who has passed away, but you said these two people are going to be okay.
So the two that I know about are both in stable condition. I would say the 40-year-old female had what I would consider serious wounds from this. The 16-year-old had a wrist injury, still serious. A wrist injury was serious, but both appear to be stable. That's the knowledge we have right now. Not to say that there's not more information that we haven't been updated on yet, or that I haven't been updated on yet while I'm here with you guys. So,
Both gunshot wounds, though,
yes,
right?
correct.
boy or girl for the 16-year-old? If you know.
Texas here visiting family, and the 40-year-old female was from Grand Rapids. I think that's all the information we have, right, Eric?
Yep. And
Anything I'm missing?
I had to step away from the first part, but it was, as the superintendent said, and I think it was in there, it was a Crossroads Alternative High School graduation that was taking place at the stadium. That was the event taking place.
Anything else you would like to
I have nothing more at this time. We'll get back with you as soon as we do have additional information. And again, if anybody has information related to this incident, or perhaps video that might be helpful to our investigators, I ask you to call either the Sheriff's Department directly or through Silent Observer, but we need the information.
Or okay to say if they're students or.
Yeah, okay to say if they're students, because that's something that students often would do.
Thank you. Thank you.